Rashid, how are you involved in this conference?
I'm the head of the Gauteng Planning Commission and in the Gauteng Provincial Government, in particular in the Office of the Premier. And we are very interested in the city region of Gauteng, which is the province really, but is a complex entity that includes very high levels of economic activity, the highest in the country, the highest concentration of population as well. We now have 12.2 million people in Gauteng. It's the largest province in the country. And we want to understand how we can ensure that we improve the work that we're doing in this part of the world.
So how do you go about doing that?
Well, we go about doing that by doing planning in the first instance. But planning is usually based on past performance, what we've done, where we've come from. And as you know, I mean, in the South African context, we come from a history of residential segregation, so separate group areas. We come from a history of economic exclusion and inequality and so on. And of course, although we're 20 years into democracy, the legacy of the past still lives on. So what we need to do is to plan for the future, to address those challenges so that we achieve what the theme of this conference of a more caring city.
Now, the Premier spoke about the Centre for Urban Innovation.
Yes.
What is that?
The Centre for Urban Innovation came about as a result of a discussion between the Premier and the Minister for National Planning, Trevor Manuel, in September last year. We were looking to develop a joint project between the NPC and ourselves in the province, and we thought we should focus on the area of spatial planning. And through a series of discussions, we thought an idea to promote or to establish a Centre for Urban Innovation should be the appropriate thing. So that's how the idea came about, and I can tell you a little more about it if you want. The idea is that we want to look at what's happening in other parts of the world, including South Africa, and basically look at good and best practice, or in fact innovative urban practice. And that's meant where you can take good examples of how people are doing things and translate it for our reality.
So clever ideas from around the world.
Indeed. And let me give you some examples. In Brazil, in the last 10 years or so, they've been particularly successful in formalizing informal settlements.
How do they do that?
Well, I mean, say in a city like Rio, they have huge favelas, which are the equivalent of informal settlements. They go through they have national legislation, they have financing arrangements in place, institutional arrangements, community participation, and a determined state that will drive that particular process. So that's one example. I mean, the other example of BRT. BRT originates in its earliest form in the city of Curitiba in Brazil, but was picked up particularly in Colombia, in Bogota and Medellin, for example, and in fact became a very successful idea which then got replicated in South Africa.
Are cities happy to share their ideas?
Absolutely. I think that I've attended many conferences like this in South Africa and around the world, and we have things to offer. There's no doubt about it. I think we have lots of examples of great successes. I mean, just as an aside, for example, I mean, the rollout of our housing program in the post-apartheid period has been one of the most ambitious public housing initiatives in the world outside of China. And I think that's significant. There are concerns about where the houses are located, sometimes the quality, corruption, and so on. Those issues need to be addressed. But the fact that we've been able to deliver something like 4 million houses in relatively short, in 2 decades, is certainly an achievement that people in other parts of the world envy, and they ask us how we've done that. So it's a two-way process of learning, mutual learning. And that's what we're hoping to do through this particular centre.
Rashid, thanks so much. We'll be tracking the progress of the Centre for Urban Innovation. See how it goes.
Thank you very much. Okay.
You were great.